Okay, should be recording now.
Alright, I'm gonna start as well then. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna explain what it means to be an entry fragger. We got those roles just recently, but some people might not know exactly what all those roles mean. So, I'm gonna go over the entry fragger, obviously, because, well, I feel like I'm in that role. So, what does it mean to be an entry fragger? Um, the entry fragger is basically the person that's fighting aggressively for space in the team. It's not necessarily about W keying people. Of course, it has to do with playing aggressive, but it's not about just killing everybody in front of you. Because you have the importance of team awareness and other stuff like that. Because your team is just as important, and you just fulfill a certain role in the team. So it's not like you do all the damage by yourself, but the chances are you get some higher damage numbers because you are in a better position to deal damage. That's basically what your job is. So I'm gonna go over some clips and I'm gonna explain what this rule means. So I'll just gonna hop into the first clip. Um, so just for some context, I was playing with Etrananda a bit ago, and there's just one squad here. What my job is to fight to eliminate the space they currently control, right? So if you look at space control, we have nothing behind here. They can easily fight while fighting behind this cover, this cover. They can use this. They have a lot of options right now. So it's up to me to eliminate most of that cover. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move up to an aggressive position. This is me going for an aggressive positioning, but it's not necessarily W keying them because it's still important to avoid damage. In terms of roles, this is the most important role to avoid damage, because if you do this wrong, you're gonna get pushed, beamed, and you'll be dead while split off from your team. And you want to prevent that. So right now I've eliminated all their earlier cover. That's the most important part. And I'm in a position to deal damage. So for me, it's just a term of shooting, but it's also important to do movements like this to keep them from having to switch targets. They have to focus me because I'm the most dangerous person right now. But if I just avoid that as much damage as I can, there's not much they can do. Because right now they're still focused on me, but I have two teammates who are closing in as well. So here's again shooting and hiding behind cover for my team to clean up here. Right?
So, can I, with what you just said, can you make it maybe into a bullet point for just this part that you spoke about of the things that you did?
Like a
Uh,
few important things.
yeah, like just if you was to sum it up, that would be really cool.
Um, well, first of all, it's fighting for aggressive space. That's like the first bullet point.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's basically what you're gonna do. You're playing at a knife's edge because the role you play is very dangerous.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the first bullet point for me will be fighting for aggressive space. The second bullet point is AUD.
yeah. Okay.
The moment I felt comfortable in this role was when I learned how to AUD. It's the most important part. Just because if you go too far, split off from a team, if you die, you are basically behind enemy lines because that's what you're doing. You're fighting aggressively for that space, but if you're dead, you're not fighting for anything. You just lost a member, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. So you're actually oh, enabling your team.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
basically the setup. That's where the name Entry Fragger comes from. It's you set something up. It's not necessarily all about you because your teammates are just as important. I
That's
cannot do this without my teammates covering me. And the more I do this with my teammates, the more aggressive space I can fight for. And if I can eliminate more cover, that means fights will be over sooner. This fight was over incredibly fast.
Okay, so you're like fighting for aggressive space, like space that your team can push in and close
Yeah,
in. You're also avoiding damage, and you're also thinking about what cover the enemy has and trying to eliminate it so that
right.
they're constantly in danger.
Yeah, right. So if you watch it, how this team fight is right now, is basically three people in a line, both teams, and they're just shooting at each other. This
Mm-hmm.
can go on forever
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
if they AUD correctly, we shoot them, they hide, they heal. Uh, they shoot us, we hide, we heal, stuff like that. There's nothing will happen.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to prevent like third parties, something has to happen. This fight has to be over quickly because if you do this for too long, there's gonna be squads from sorting, from harvester, from everywhere.
All
So
right.
if you look at this, basically what their cover is behind this, or in this inside or behind this rock,
Yeah.
this rock.
So you before the fight begins, you've identified where their safe spots are.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Right
awesome.
now it's easy for me to line up one spot and eliminate all cover,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also important to know that there is a chance they'll push you. So as I said, you're playing a fine line. The reason why Wraith is an entry fragger is because if they decide to push me right here, I can just queue out. In
Yeah.
this situation, I'm relatively safe because my teammate is pretty close. Even if I play lifeline here, I could just move into the truck. But that extra mobility that a Wraith gives, or maybe other legends with mobility, that will allow you to play more aggressively into some spaces.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm, all right, let's see. What's also important to note is just because you're an entry fragger doesn't mean this is all you have to do the entire game. The roles can swap all the time in between a team fight. It just depends on the possibilities your team has and sees. So right here, Etro dropped down. That means I'm no longer the entry fragger. He is fighting for that space. So my job is to prevent him from dying. That's my first job. It's not necessarily about killing this guy or killing whatever. It's just to prevent them from shooting him. So that's what an entry fragger also needs from his teammates. He needs the cover from his teammates to be able to play these dangerous spots. So he's playing a dangerous spot, and I have to identify that. That's what mostly for the other roles, but also for an entry fragger, you have to identify who is in the most dangerous position. Often that's the entry fragger because he's pushing for something. He's trying to make something happen. Right now, my focus is to prevent him from dying. So I'm just gonna shoot those people, and then Etro backs off to his team, and we clean this up as well. So these roles can swap constantly in a team fight. Sometimes your teammate just sees something, goes in, and suddenly he's the entry fragger. But like a general rule, 9 out of 10 times this will be me, but this doesn't mean that I'm never supporting my teammates or whatever. Sometimes different situations require different things.
That's awesome. So if we was to add that to the list, it's like your ability to uh, understand the dynamic of a battlefield immediately. Because if you see someone uh, doing the entry reg on your team, you won't try and take it from them. You just
No,
immediately because you've identified it, you can make the
yeah,
shift, which is
that's something
important.
that's important for every role in itself. It's not necessarily an entry frag thing. Everyone has to understand, identify what's going on.
Yeah, yeah,
If you are the support player, you have to identify who is in the most dangerous position, who can get killed easily right now. If that's you, you're not the support. You need support. If that's your teammate Wraith, all right, you have to focus on that. So these dynamics can change, but it's up to you how fast you identify that.
hmm
Um,
amazing.
Right. So here's another fight where it shows kind of what an entry fragger does. I'm moving up with my portal. This is why Brave is good. You can do these portals and play dangerous spots.
Still hanging out.
Oh, so if it gets too hot, you obviously can take it back. You're good.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Um, mm, like in essence, your abilities don't matter if you're an entry fragger. Your legend doesn't matter if you're an entry fragger or whatever. Every legend can be played as every role, in my opinion, but some legends just complement one role better, obviously. So
Right.
you can play a dangerous spot with your portal, and if it gets too heated, you just take the portal back and you're back to your team.
So, all right, this is cool. This is actually really cool. So, in a sense that we've got the other team and they're doing the entry fragger thing to you. If they're successful in eliminating your cover because they know where your cover is, the portal is your way out, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, let's say I'm playing this cover, the team is right here, and they close out on this side and this side and whatever. I'm kind of getting pinched by people.
Yeah.
My job is to not die because, again, if I die, I'm just gonna be in enemy lines, behind enemy lines, and they could just finish me, armor swap, whatever.
I think it's very important to put emphasis on this because what I'm thinking about is how, for example, someone who starting to understand the game a little bit would make this move. They would take the portal back because they're about to die, meaning maybe they lost their shields and they see someone pushing, but they only need to take the portal back if their options are taken away from them, not so
Yeah.
much because they're just weak, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, it's really important to know because sometimes you have to take that portal back before you get weak. If you are an entry fragger, you cannot do that if you're low HP. Well, you can barely do that. Because let's say the enemy squad is on this rock and I'm here and I'm one shot. They're just gonna full send 3 people and just kill me without even being my teammates being able to do much because I just drop instantly. So it's extremely important to stay healthy.
Yeah, awesome.
So right here, I'm just fighting for this aggressive space. They're in here, and one is down low. I'm not necessarily W keying right in there, but I'm just being a nuisance mostly. I'm looking for things like that, like small picks or
Yeah.
damage advantages. And now my team closes in. So I kind of got an advantage by knocking that guy. And now my team rolls in and we have an advantage in the team fight. So right now my job is done. I'm not necessarily an entry fragger anymore. Now it's just straight up team fight, like a cleanup. This is just not necessarily entry fragger. Now it's just cleanup.
Fucking caustic. Careful, careful, don't overpush this. On me, on me! Caustic knocked!
And now the fight is already over, basically. Um, what I want to cover next is you can do this with randoms. It's harder because you're not necessarily sure about if they cover you or not. But there's a
Yeah.
way to check that, right? If you are play with randoms, your team awareness comes into play even more. There's not something like communication, like good communication with them. And you just have to know, you have to be sure. Well, because you have to be sure, you have to play a bit less aggressive. Because you're not completely sure if they got your back and you cannot afford to look every 1 second. So right here, we're looking for an advantage again. This is nothing special. And I deal some damage. I'm a bit unsure of what to do because I'm not sure what they want to do. It's right now I want to do this. So I'll ping like attack here, go here to at least get their attention. But this is not just enough. This is what's important. Because this little check, it gives me enough information. It shows, okay, this guy's with me. That means this guy will probably come as well. This is really important, even when you play with your regular teammates, but especially with randoms, because you cannot say like, let's push together, and even if you do, they might not do it because, well, different reasons. Doesn't matter. But you can still check if they do this.
Sorry. This is good as well. Like this, because what he means by check is to confirm for yourself, right?
Right.
Like you need a way to confirm that your teammates know what you're doing.
Yeah, if they were still up there, I might just peek this corner a little bit, but I know they're not with me, so I'm already having an escape route in my head. If they push me, I'll just grapple out. I can do this because I have some mobility, so I can be a bit more aggressive, but I don't want to go too far because my team's not with me. But when I see this guy jumping down, I know at least one guy's with me. So that's the confirmation I need. And it's still not W keying. It's still like slowly picking these corners. And here's that advantage again. You're basically looking for advantages your team can get. And now my team closes in and cleans up the fight. To touch on the awareness again, why it's important. Every player needs some form of awareness. That's what we
I
teach people in the fundamentals. But
I actually have it's a the opposite, right? It's a fail a fail clip. Maybe we can go on that as well. It's a very quick one, but it's one with you and I was the entry fragger, but I messed it up completely.
I
Maybe
got a
if
fail
we
clip as
have
well. Don't worry.
oh, okay,
we
okay.
can go over that.
All right, cool, cool.
I have to put it in there because people have to know what happens if you fail at doing your job, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So, right here, this is where awareness comes in. Awareness is important for everybody, but every role got different forms of awareness. My awareness is mostly where my team is and if I have the backup or not. The awareness of maybe a support player more should be like which one of my teammates is in danger. There are different things, but it still comes down to awareness. Right now, I'm pushing up, and there's this guy fighting. I'm basically in a dangerous spot again. I'm being a nuisance. I'm trying to look for something, but I want to make sure what they are doing again. Are they with me? Are they not? It changes the way I play. If they're not with me, I will not look for something, or at least not as aggressive. Right here is a check again. I know this check is important because it gives me information for the next couple of seconds. I know my Gibby is close, and my Wraith is there. I want to fight for the space up top, but I got there just late. Right? They beat me to the race. Right now, the information I got is my Wraith was still far away. My Gibby was relatively close, but I'm not sure if it was me. My Wraith is far away, so I'm not looking to fight this. I'm just gonna deal some damage and drop down. Apparently my Gibby was up there as well, so I'm just regrouping with him. But that awareness is really important to have. Because your decision making changes if there's something else happening. If we take this zipline as a team, like 3 people, I have no problem fighting this guy. But I know one of my teammates at least is still far away. He cannot fight this, and I'm not 100% sure where the enemy team is. They are probably somewhere here. So that team awareness, that's really important because it gives you information of how aggressive you can play. Right now, I can still try to 1v1 this guy, but that's way too risky. Let's say we trade, and then it's just gonna be a 2v2. So I gained nothing. So I'm just gonna play it safe, drop down. As soon as my Gibby moved up, I'll rejoin him. All right. Right now, I want to cover what happens when it goes wrong. Because you're playing a fine line of how aggressive you can fight. I'm always looking for the most risky spot to play, and that sometimes backfires, of course. It's not like I'm just going to show you all the good clips and how it always works. It doesn't always work. And you have to know, well, you have to experience when it works and when it doesn't work. Right now, there's a squad here. I'm looking to do the same thing again. I'm going to play here to be a nuisance. So they have to focus on me. But right here, I don't really have a good spot to play. And I don't have cover for my team. So this is basically suicide. I'm completely griefing right here. I have to push this because there's someone going on in the back. And I just die. And now my team is there, right? The timing was off. It wasn't that this was necessarily a bad play, but because the timings didn't match up, it was. They weren't able to cover me, and I wasn't able to sync up or watch them when they were covering or when they weren't. So what happens now is I'm just gonna get finished because I'm behind enemy lines. They just cannot run to me, rest me, and then hoping to win the fight. I'm behind enemy lines, so I'm just gonna get finished. And they got my loot, and there's nothing my team can do. In the end, my team was able to rest. And I got right in here is something where you're basically looking for to make something happen. Again, Wraith makes this very easy because with your portal you can play some dangerous spots you wouldn't normally be able to play. This can be with any type of mobility, as long as you stay safe doing it. That's the most important part. I know they're fighting, and I just want to take a look by myself. My teammate's holding the building, and I'm here just taking a look. See if I can get something.
You don't take it, don't take it.
I just got a knock, and that was enough for me. I don't need much more.
Just go back, go back.
So I'm just gonna take portal back. This is just looking for plays. It's not hard committing to a fight, but because I have that portal, I can stay in that range. Just portal back when things are getting heated. Right. So the next thing I want to cover is defensive plays as an entry fragger. Because sometimes you're an entry fragger, but you can also make defensive plays. You can fight aggressively for space offensively, but also defensively. What I mean by defensively is you're trying to stop pushes. Or anything like that. For me, right here, we have to rotate in the geyser. There's a squad here. It starts off as an offensive play, right? I'm going here again, fight for space. There isn't much happening, I'm just looking for something. But my teammate gets crabered. Right now, it's up to me to control this space aggressively. I'm gonna shoot people so they won't be able to push. Right? So I'm just holding them off. I'm not necessarily pushing anything, but I'm just preventing them to push. Unfortunately, my Loba decided looting was more important, but it's the concept is the same. Right? It was a defensive play. but it's also as an entry frag because right now I have that mobility and I can play those dangerous spots. Well, as I said, it's not. I keep talking about mobility a lot, but it's also possible to do it without mobility. The only thing you have to be wary of is like make sh- make sure you know how far you can go. If you split off too far from your team and you get pushed, that's when you got too far. Um, you can also just entry frag basically from with legends without mobility. Right now I'm playing Bloodhound. My teammate is close to me to the left, and I have to make sure I can just look for things again. Right here, I'm just playing aggressive again with my teammates pretty close. They weren't supporting me at this time, so I'm just not necessarily hard pushing.
Finish him. Right there.
And I keep looking for those aggressive spaces,
Almost.
right?
Behind me, behind me. Oh no, that's you, that's you. What the fuck? Oh no, there it is. On the zipline.
I'm just basically right now I can't play too far because I'm not a Wraith. I don't have a get out of jail free card. So right now I have to be more careful about my positioning. But here you have it again. I'm looking for something and then an advantage we can find. So I'm going here. My team is pretty close. And now I got the disadvantage, and now it's just cleanup time, right? So when you play a legend without mobility and still want to do this, it's important to note that you can't stray away from your team too far. So you can't play too aggressively. Because the question you should ask yourself is what happens if they push me? Are you able to get out? Because you are playing a dangerous spot, so they want to kill you. You are their prime target. Because if there's one guy that's eliminating their coverage, they're like, well, it's just one guy, let's push him. But if you play Wraith and they push you, you can queue out. But what do you do if you play a legend without mobility? So you have to be careful about can I go there or not? What happens if they push me? Well, can I get out? If the answer is no, you shouldn't play that spot. Um, all right. And then I want to show another clip because sometimes it's Entry Fragger is more about enabling your team, setting something up, and it's not always about just pushing the enemy squad. So when you have that mobility, as I said, it's fighting aggressively for space. So what I mean by that is sometimes, as I said, you can do it defensively again. Right now, we just want to rotate.
You can take portal, but there are people, you have to run
So
immediately.
I'm fighting for this space aggressively. My team is one shot. Etro is having a rough time right now.
Cracked her.
So my job is to get their attention and make sure he will be able to heal or whatever or get out. My uh my Q, my phase is 10 seconds away, so I just basically need to buy 10 seconds. Right, I just want to fend this guy off because my teammate's healing.
I'm holding for you. Oh, I'm dead.
And I bought enough time, teammate was able to heal, and now we join together. So if you have that mobility, you can fight for space more aggressively like that, also in a defensive manner. Everyone can do this, of course, but the phase makes or any other type of mobility makes stuff like that a lot easier. Well, those are basically the clips I wanted to cover. I don't know if anyone has any questions about this. No one?
In that last with Etro,
Yeah.
so you guys are out of the tunnel. Would you guys then switch positions because you have no shields now, and you can then shield up, and he'd take that position of protecting you, or would you just like run to a building
Wait, let me see.
if you can?
S- let's see. Right here, you mean, right?
Yeah.
You can. It depends a lot on a lot of different things. We're both not full HP, but we're not that weak either.
Mhm.
Um, if they were pushing, it would be a good idea for someone to hold. At least fend them off.
Okay.
If they're not pushing, it's not that necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're still in an okay spot here. Well, this is not that okay of a spot because we have our entire thermal side is open.
I'd have to.
So we move
I
up a
had to
little
drop my thermal
towards
position.
towards the high ground to at
Mhm.
least get a better position to fight in.
Oh my god.
Okay.
And now we can look for something again.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyone else? All right. If there is no more questions, I'll just end it right here. So maybe back to the bullet points. I would say the most important parts. One is fighting for space aggressively. That's basically what you're doing to enable your teammates. You can add that, not that necessary, but AUDing is important. Awareness of your teammates are really important because they influence the decision making. If you have cover from your team, you have a lot more options. But if you don't have the cover, it might you might not be able to play that spot that's otherwise a really good spot. So awareness of your teammates is really important. And I think those three are the key parts. Remember, it's not just W keying at all. You're just a role on the team. Your teammates are just as important because once you got that advantage, you're looking for your teammates to close in on the fight. So yeah, basically what's so important parts is AUD, fighting for space aggressively, and team awareness. Those are the keywords, I would say. All right, if no one has any more questions, I'll leave it here.
Thank you, Hiti.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah, I just muted my mic. I'm not sure if it was picking up any feedback at the start, but that was definitely good. Do you have any more clips? You're gonna go through some more stuff, or
Uh, I can look for some. These were the clips
you,
I
you,
prepared,
you
which I
don't
knew.
have to. I wanted to just make sure. Can you upload the clips somewhere or give them to me so we can cut them and just have them ready to available to look at without us talking over it and pausing it, you know?
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. I'm
I'll
gonna
do
shut up again. I might step away, but yeah, it's recording, so we should have the audio
I don't know if I have any
and
more.
footage. All right, cool.